Noah leaned back in his chair, laptop open, a cup of coffee steaming beside him. He had been planning this trip for weeks, a weekend getaway, a chance to escape the monotony of city life, explore somewhere new, and simply enjoy a break. The plan was simple: fly out of the country, stay a few days in a remote yet accessible location, and return refreshed. Nothing too extreme. Nothing too dangerous. Just adventure, in a safe, civilized way. He double-checked his itinerary, flight booked, hotel confirmed, backpack packed with casual travel essentials, clothes, camera, travel documents, and a few personal items. He even had a small notebook to jot down memories, a habit he had kept since his first solo trip. Adventure didn't always have to be life-threatening, he thought, smiling. Hours later, Noah sat by the window of the plane, watching the clouds drift beneath the sun's warm glow. The flight was smooth at first, the hum of the engines comforting. Below, the land stretched endlessly, lush green forests dotted with rivers and valleys. Noah's mind wandered, imagining relaxing walks, local markets, and quiet evenings in a new place. But then, without warning, a violent shudder shook the cabin. The engines groaned, and warning lights flashed. Panic rippled through the passengers. Turbulence escalated into chaos as the plane suddenly dropped, twisting unnaturally in the sky. Noah gripped the armrests, heart racing. This was not in the plan. The captain's voice barely cut through the rising screams: "Brace for impact. We've lost one engine, preparing for emergency landing." Noah's stomach turned as the plane plummeted toward a dense, green expanse below. He tried to stay calm, recalling emergency instructions, but nothing could fully prepare him for what was happening. The aircraft hit the treetops with a sickening crunch. Metal screeched, glass shattered, and the world spun around him. Darkness swallowed him for a moment. When he finally opened his eyes, the chaos of the plane was around him: scattered seats, luggage, smoke curling into the air. But he was alive. Stunned, he sat up, testing his body. Scratches, bruises, nothing life-threatening. His heart was still racing, but he realized he needed to act. Looking around, Noah saw he was deep in a vast jungle. Trees towered above him, thick vines hung from branches, and an eerie quiet stretched in all directions. This was not part of his travel plan. He had intended to explore a small town, maybe a beach, not some uncharted wilderness. Survival instinct slowly began to take over. He scanned the plane wreckage, salvaging anything useful: a first aid kit, a small pack of rations, a flashlight, and a rope. He slung the backpack over his shoulder, his mind racing with strategies he had never thought he would need for a leisure trip. As Noah moved through the jungle, he realized the environment was unlike any forest he had imagined. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, calls that seemed part bird, part something else entirely. Some plants glowed faintly, illuminating patches of the undergrowth. Shadows shifted as though the jungle itself was watching. The night came quickly. Noah set up a makeshift shelter using his tarp and some fallen branches. He lit a small fire, the flickering flames pushing back the darkness. Sitting by the warmth, he tried to calm himself, writing a note in his notebook. "I came here for a short, safe trip. I never expected this, but now I must survive. This place, it's unlike anything I've known. And I will have to rely on every skill I've ever learned, whether in school, in books, or from experience, to make it through." As the fire crackled, Noah heard distant movements, something large brushing through the trees, faint glowing eyes reflecting in the dark. He froze. It was a reminder that this jungle held secrets, creatures he had never imagined, and dangers beyond anything he had planned for. Noah knew one thing for certain: this trip was no longer about leisure. It had turned into an unpredictable adventure, a survival journey, and a path into a world few humans had ever seen. The unknown jungle had claimed him, and now he would have to face it, alone, alert, and determined. And somewhere deep in the shadows, something unseen watched, waiting. The morning sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across the forest floor. Noah stirred, stretching sore muscles and feeling the stiffness from the previous night. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, distant bird calls, and the whisper of wind, reminded him that he was no longer in the world he had planned for. His leisure trip was gone. This was something entirely different. He packed his salvaged supplies carefully: first aid kit, rope, flashlight, rations, and his notebook. Every item could make the difference between survival and disaster. Taking a deep breath, he stepped out of his makeshift shelter and surveyed the surroundings. The jungle stretched endlessly in every direction, a maze of twisting roots, towering trees, and thick undergrowth. At first, Noah tried to stick to common-sense paths, fallen branches forming natural trails, small clearings that hinted at water sources. But soon, he realized the forest was alive in ways he had never imagined. Some of the plants emitted a faint glow, soft and pulsating like tiny lanterns. He crouched to examine one, brushing his fingers against its delicate petals. A subtle warmth ran through his hand, almost as if the plant itself was aware of his presence. Every step deeper into the jungle seemed to pull him further into a world he couldn't fully comprehend. Strange sounds echoed around him, chirps that rose in a harmonious rhythm, low growls that didn't match any animal he had ever studied, and rustling that suggested something larger moving just out of sight. Noah's heart beat faster, not just from fear, but from an overwhelming curiosity. He stopped at a small stream, kneeling to drink and refill his water bottle. The water was cool and surprisingly clear. While resting, he noticed unusual footprints in the damp mud. They were unlike anything he had seen, larger than a human hand, clawed, and with unusual spacing, as if the creature that left them moved in a way that defied natural movement. Noah studied them carefully, noting patterns in his notebook, his mind racing with questions. As the day passed, he used his survival skills to navigate, finding edible plants he recognized, tying small traps for fish, and crafting a simple spear from a long branch. Yet, even with these preparations, the jungle felt alive and observant. Shadows moved in the corner of his vision. Soft glows appeared in the distance between the trees, vanishing before he could approach. Noah reminded himself to stay calm and focus on survival. By late afternoon, he stumbled upon a small clearing where the sunlight poured in, making the leaves shimmer like emeralds. Here, he noticed something extraordinary: tiny insects with wings that glowed faintly, moving in synchronized patterns over flowers that seemed to hum in rhythm with their flight. Noah crouched, utterly mesmerized. The sight was beautiful, magical, and completely alien. It made him realize that this jungle was not just wild, it was extraordinary in ways humans had never seen. Night approached faster than he expected. The forest transformed. The familiar sounds of day, chirping birds, rustling leaves, were replaced by a chorus of strange calls and echoes. Something moved in the distance, large and deliberate, its footsteps crunching softly over the fallen leaves. Noah's fire from the previous night was gone, leaving only the faint glow of bioluminescent plants to guide him. He quickly gathered branches and dry leaves, building a small fire again. As flames flickered, he saw brief glimmers, eyes reflecting the firelight from the shadows. There was no immediate threat, yet the presence of something unseen made his pulse quicken. He scribbled furiously in his notebook. "This jungle is alive, in ways I can't explain. Some creatures are here, watching. I must stay alert, survive, and keep moving." Hours passed, and the sounds of the jungle kept him on edge. Every snap of a twig, every sudden rustle, was amplified in the dark. Yet, even as fear rose, Noah felt exhilaration. He was witnessing something no human had likely ever seen. He was no longer a tourist on a simple trip, he was an explorer, an observer, a survivor. Eventually, exhaustion overtook him. Lying by the small fire, he felt a strange mix of awe and tension. The jungle was beautiful, dangerous, and mysterious all at once. Somewhere deep in the shadows, he sensed the presence of unknown creatures, waiting, watching, or simply existing in this hidden world. Noah knew that tomorrow would bring more discoveries, challenges, and perhaps the first real encounter with the jungle's extraordinary inhabitants. Tonight, however, he rested, listening to the subtle, magical hum of the forest. Every rustle, every faint glow, whispered secrets he had yet to uncover. The adventure was only beginning, and the hidden jungle had already claimed his curiosity and his survival. Noah awoke to the faint light of dawn piercing the jungle canopy. The night had been long, filled with strange sounds and glimpses of movement just beyond his firelight. He rubbed his eyes and reminded himself, this was no ordinary trip. Every day here would demand focus, patience, and courage. Packing his gear, he moved cautiously through the dense undergrowth. The glowing plants from yesterday seemed brighter in the morning light, their soft luminescence giving the forest an ethereal quality. Tiny creatures with translucent wings flitted between the leaves, making almost musical chirps as they moved. Noah paused often, notebook in hand, sketching and recording patterns. As he followed a winding path, he began to notice other signs: broken branches bent in unusual ways, claw marks on tree trunks, and tracks that didn't match anything he knew. His survival instincts kicked in fully now, honed by his training and previous expeditions, even if this was not what he had originally planned. Every movement had to be careful, every sound could indicate a predator or something stranger. By midday, he reached a small stream. While drinking and observing the area, Noah noticed a faint shimmer across the water. A figure darted between the trees, a large creature, its shape partly obscured by foliage. He froze, heart pounding, and watched. It was unlike any animal he had ever studied. Its body seemed fluid, almost reflective, blending seamlessly with the forest around it. He caught only glimpses: a long tail, limbs moving with grace, and eyes that glowed faintly, like the plants themselves. Noah held his breath, not wanting to startle it. The creature paused, then vanished as quickly as it appeared. His mind raced. Was it a predator? A harmless inhabitant? Or something entirely unknown? He made a note: first clear signs of life here are unlike anything catalogued. Must remain cautious, observe from distance. As he continued, Noah found a natural clearing, sunlight streaming in. He took a brief rest, eating a few rations, while scanning the jungle for movement. Then he noticed something unusual: a small cluster of mushrooms emitting soft, pulsating light. Recalling some studies in biology, he realized these were bioluminescent fungi, rare even in the most remote forests. The presence of these fungi suggested that the ecosystem here was unique, perhaps untouched for centuries. Noah's curiosity was now matched by caution. He continued deeper into the forest, using his rope and climbing skills to cross small ravines, and marking his trail carefully with colored strips of cloth torn from his shirt. The jungle seemed alive in a way he couldn't explain: every rustle, shadow, and whisper of wind felt purposeful. He felt as though he was being watched, not with hostility, but with curiosity. As evening approached, he reached a small grove filled with enormous trees. The air was thick, heavy with moisture, and a faint mist began to rise from the ground. Noah could hear faint humming sounds, low and resonant, almost musical. He crouched behind a fallen log, peering into the shadows. Two large creatures emerged, moving cautiously among the roots. They were unlike anything human eyes had catalogued: long limbs, translucent wings folded against their backs, and subtle glowing patterns along their sides. They didn't notice him immediately. Noah's heart raced. He didn't move, didn't make a sound, letting the creatures go about their business. The sight was magical, surreal, and terrifying all at once. He knew he had to record everything carefully, yet safely. This was the first true glimpse of life in this hidden world. Night fell quickly. Noah returned to his small campsite, thoughts racing. The creatures he had seen weren't hostile, at least not yet, but the jungle had many secrets, and not all of them would be safe. He set up a perimeter using his rope and made a small fire, keeping the glow minimal so as not to attract attention. Writing in his notebook, he reflected. The forest is alive with beings beyond imagination. I've seen them, barely, yet their presence is undeniable. Survival here is not just about food and shelter, it's about understanding this world, respecting it, and moving cautiously. As he drifted into a tense sleep, Noah felt the whispers of the forest around him, the soft brushing of leaves, the faint glowing lights in the distance, and the rhythmic hum of creatures unseen. He knew tomorrow would bring closer encounters, new challenges, and the deeper mysteries of the jungle. He had entered a world that few had ever seen, a world where fantasy and reality intertwined, and survival required more than just skill, it required wisdom, patience, and courage. Noah woke to the sounds of the jungle stirring around him. The mist hung low, curling around the enormous tree trunks like silent, floating ghosts. His previous sightings of glowing creatures haunted his thoughts. What were they, and were they dangerous? The uncertainty made his pulse quicken. He carefully packed his campsite, keeping movements quiet. Every snap of a twig underfoot echoed in the damp air, making him more aware of the forest's life around him. Today, he planned to move slowly, observing, learning, and avoiding unnecessary risks. His first clear sighting had left him awestruck, but he knew the jungle could be unforgiving. As he ventured deeper, the light filtering through the canopy dimmed. Towering trees with twisted branches blocked much of the sky, and strange plants glowed faintly in the shadowed undergrowth. Noah paused frequently, jotting down sketches and notes in his notebook, tracking the unusual flora and animal signs. It was then that he heard it, a soft rustle ahead, followed by a melodic hum that sent shivers down his spine. He froze, straining his ears. A creature appeared at the edge of the clearing. This time, it was closer. Its body shimmered, translucent and delicate, wings folded gracefully along its sides. Its eyes were large and reflective, and faint patterns of light moved across its skin as though the creature itself were part of the glowing jungle. Noah's instinct screamed caution. He crouched behind a moss-covered rock, heart pounding. The creature stepped lightly across the ground, sniffing and glancing around. It didn't seem aggressive, but its gaze was piercing, almost intelligent. Noah whispered to himself, "Stay calm. Don't make sudden movements." Minutes passed. The creature lingered, as if aware of Noah's presence. Then, in a surprising moment, it tilted its head, emitting a soft call, almost musical. The sound echoed gently through the trees, captivating and mysterious. Noah felt a strange connection, a sense that this being was observing him as much as he was observing it. As if testing its courage, Noah extended a gloved hand slowly, offering a small piece of dried fruit from his rations. The creature paused, eyes reflecting the dim light. After a tense moment, it approached cautiously, taking the food without fear. Noah exhaled softly, marveling at the intelligence and grace of this unknown life form. Suddenly, a loud snap echoed through the trees behind him. Noah whipped his head around. The forest seemed alive with movement, shadows shifted, rustling leaves and snapping branches. The creature he had just fed vanished in an instant, slipping silently through the trees like liquid light. Noah realized that the jungle had layers he couldn't yet comprehend, creatures watching, some friendly, some hidden, all part of this magical ecosystem. Determined to explore further, he followed a narrow path beside a small stream. The water shimmered with faint bioluminescence, revealing small, glowing fish darting beneath the surface. Noah knelt, scooping water to drink, careful not to disturb the delicate life around him. The forest hummed with energy, every leaf, every insect, every shadow seemed connected in ways beyond his understanding. By late afternoon, he found a small ridge overlooking a broader expanse of jungle. From here, the sheer scale of the forest became evident, towering trees stretching endlessly, patches of glowing flora scattered like stars, and distant shapes moving silently among the foliage. Noah took careful notes, drawing maps and marking landmarks, realizing that even in this vast wilderness, patterns existed if observed closely. Night came quickly. The forest transformed once again, strange calls filling the air. Noah set up his campsite, building a fire and creating a small perimeter with rope. Glimmers of light flickered among the trees, bioluminescent plants, insects, and, perhaps, creatures moving unseen. He felt both awe and caution. Every sound reminded him that he was a guest in a world few had witnessed, and survival depended on respect and vigilance. As he lay near the fire, notebook in hand, Noah reflected on the day. I've seen the first real creatures of this jungle, alive, intelligent, and unlike anything on Earth. They are cautious, aware, and perhaps curious. I must remain patient, observe, and learn. This is no longer a leisure trip, this is survival, exploration, and discovery all at once. From the shadows, a faint, melodic hum rose again, echoing in the mist. Noah smiled nervously, feeling a mix of fear, wonder, and excitement. The jungle was alive, magical, and full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. He drifted to sleep with one thought: tomorrow, he would venture further, and perhaps see more of the unseen inhabitants of this enchanted forest. Morning arrived with a soft haze drifting between the towering trees. Noah stirred, muscles aching but spirits high. Last night's encounter with the strange creature had left him exhilarated. Its intelligence, the gentle way it approached him, and the faint glow along its body were images he could not shake. Yet, he reminded himself, this jungle was unpredictable. Curiosity could be as dangerous as any predator. Packing his supplies, he followed a faint trail along the edge of the stream he had discovered 2 days ago. The air was thick with moisture, carrying scents unfamiliar yet oddly inviting. As he walked, Noah observed small tracks along the mud, slender footprints unlike any human or ordinary animals. He paused, crouched, and sketched them carefully in his notebook. These markings suggested the presence of smaller creatures, perhaps related to the larger ones he had glimpsed before. The jungle seemed to test him at every step. Low-hanging vines blocked his path, roots twisted across trails, and the occasional hollow tree required careful navigation. Noah relied on his survival knowledge, balancing speed with caution, using his rope to swing over dangerous patches, and examining every clearing before stepping in. Each movement felt like a silent negotiation with the forest itself. Around midday, Noah reached a small waterfall cascading into a crystal-clear pool. He knelt by the water, scooping some into his bottle, and caught sight of glowing shapes beneath the surface. Tiny fish, their scales reflecting a soft luminescence, darted quickly whenever he approached. The jungle seemed to shimmer around him, alive with energy in ways he could feel but not fully comprehend. While resting, he heard a distant call, a rhythmic, musical sound unlike any bird or animal he had studied. Noah's heart quickened. He stood silently, listening as the call repeated, each echo carrying through the dense foliage. Moving cautiously toward the sound, he discovered a small grove bathed in dappled sunlight. And there, Partially hidden behind vines were several creatures similar to the one he had seen before but smaller, more agile, and incredibly curious. Their wings folded neatly, patterns on their skin glimmering faintly. One stepped forward, inspecting him with wide, luminous eyes. Noah remained still, slowly extending a hand with a small piece of dried fruit. The creature approached, pausing only inches away, before taking it delicately. A sudden rustle from above startled both Noah and the creatures. Branches shook violently, and something larger moved quickly through the canopy. Noah's pulse raced. He watched as a massive silhouette darted across the trees, its outline humanoid but elongated, wings tucked close, and glowing patterns rippling along its skin. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving only a faint hum behind. Noah's mind raced. This jungle was alive with beings of all sizes, from delicate, winged creatures to something larger and more mysterious. Observation and patience were crucial. One wrong step could alert predators, or beings he had yet to fully understand. Later, he navigated to a small cliffside, offering a vantage point over the forest. Sunlight glinted off the glowing flora scattered throughout the jungle, and shadows moved with deliberate grace. Noah made sketches in his notebook, tracking the locations of creatures and unusual plant life. Every detail mattered. As evening approached, the jungle changed again. Sounds shifted, gentle rustling became rhythmic thumps, distant calls morphed into strange songs, and shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally. Noah built a small fire in a secure clearing, minimizing light to avoid drawing attention. Glimmers of glowing plants and insects danced in the darkness, creating an almost magical ambience. Noah reflected on the day. The jungle is more alive than I imagined. Every creature, every plant, every shadow seems connected. I've seen small beings, hints of larger ones, and the patterns of life here are extraordinary. Survival isn't just about food and shelter, it's about understanding, respect, and caution. As he lay beside the fire, scanning the moving shadows, a soft, melodic hum rose in the night air. It was a song of the forest itself, or perhaps the creatures living within it. Noah smiled nervously, feeling excitement and fear at once. This jungle was no ordinary wilderness, it was magical, unpredictable, and full of secrets that only patience and courage could uncover. Tonight, he would rest, but tomorrow promised new challenges, navigating deeper into the forest, encountering more of its mysterious inhabitants, and testing both his survival skills and his understanding of this enchanted ecosystem. The whispers of the forest, glowing in faint lights, promised adventures yet to come. Noah knew he was only scratching the surface of the jungle's hidden wonders and its hidden dangers.